What's going on, everyone? This is Gaurav and welcome to my learning channel. So in today's video, we're going to learn about how to join two tables in SQL. Now, as such, the concept for joining two tables sort of remains very similar in SQL or Python or PySpark, or for that matter, any other coding language. However, for today's discussion, we are going to focus only on SQL. Now, as a part of this video, I'm going to assume that you already know what is left join, right join, inner join, and outer join. If you don't know, then I would request you to pause this video, take a look at the description for this video where I posted a link for another video where I've explained the logic behind left join, right join, inner join, and outer join with the help of some of the examples. So now without any further delay, let's get started. Before we dive into the details of joins, I would like to spend a quick minute to introduce you to the tables that we are going to leverage for today's discussion. So the first table is GA1. This is our database. And the table name is customer underscore details underscore left. There is a reason why I'm going to use this keyword called left, but that is something which will become more clearer as we go through the video. So this table has four variables. So you have customer ID, customer name, age, and state for different customers. Now these are the only two different data points in this table. So you have customer ID 1, customer ID 2, and these are the two customers. So you have Ram and Sam. So let me quickly run these queries to show you the content of these tables. And I'm going to go ahead and add some data. And then right afterwards, let's take a look at the content of this table. So now you can see that you have this table with two records. You have customer ID 1 and customer ID 2, and then you have Ram and Sam as a part of this table. The second table that I'm going to leverage is GA1. Again, it's the same database. And the name of table is transaction underscore details underscore right. So let's quickly trigger this query to take a look at the content of this table because I have used two different precision points, so we can just completely ignore that part. This is something that's going to be depreciated at some point in time, but we are good for now. So now you can see the content of this table. For this table, you have customer ID, you have transaction date, and you have amount. Now with that, let's get started with the joins. So we'll first of all take a look at left join. Query for left join looks something like this. So we'll go through it line by line and we'll try to understand what's happening in the code. So first of all, you have a select statement. As a part of select statement, we are saying select a dot star comma b dot star. Now we'll take a look at first of all, what does that mean when it comes to a dot star and b dot star in a minute. And then we are selecting all of this information from two different tables. So the first table name is customer details left, which is the one that we just created. Then we are assigning an alias name to this table. So this is the alias name for A. So the meaning of alias name is that in case you want to reference this table again ever in this query, you don't have to write the entire table name. So imagine that if you have to reference this table multiple times, you will have to go ahead and write it again and again, which is definitely very cumbersome and it does make your code look fairly unreadable. So that's why you have this concept of alias. So as a part of this, you can just simply write the name of table and right afterwards, whatever you will write, which could be alphanumeric or alphanumeric followed by a number, that could be used as an alias for this particular table. Now we are doing a left join. And then the second table is GA1 dot transaction underscore details underscore right. And the alias for this table is B. We are joining these two tables based on the variable called customer ID. So both of these tables have customer ID. And that's why we are saying on a dot customer ID is equal to b dot customer ID. So we are essentially telling the system that let's go ahead and merge these two tables based on the left join. And on the left hand side of this join, you will have this table. And that's the reason why I wanted to use this underscore left suffix, because I wanted to kind of make sure that people understand that this is the table that's going to stay on the left hand side. And then we are saying let's go ahead and merge this table with right hand side, which is the table on this side. We are asking the system to go ahead and merge these two tables based on the variable called customer ID, which is present in both. Now let's say that you have two different variables or two different variable names for customer ID, then you can specify that as well. So let's say that rather than customer ID, it was customer underscore ID underscore left. You can write that as well if that's the name of the variable for left table. And similarly, whatever is the name of variable on the right table, you can go ahead and specify that as well. So hopefully this is clear. Now coming to the select statements over here, we are selecting everything which is in table A. A is your alias. So that's why we are saying a dot star. Star means that let's just go ahead and select everything. When I say everything, I mean like all the variables. And for B, we are also asking the system to go ahead and select everything, which is all the variables present. So to quickly summarize, we are asking the system to select everything from table A, everything from table B, where we are joining these two tables. On the left hand side, you have customer details underscore left, On the right hand side, you have transaction details underscore right based on the variable called customer ID. Now, if you remember that as a part of a left join, we discussed that if you're joining two tables via left join, then you will have all the details which is present in the left table, which is this table, plus everything which is in the overlapping. So you will see that as an output as well. Now let's quickly trigger this query to see the output. So this is how your output looks like. So you have customer ID 112, and then you have the customer details. So let's carefully go through the content of the output. So first of all, you have details which is coming from first table because we did a dot star. And that's why you can see that you have customer ID, customer name, age, and state. These are all the customer details which we had in the first table. Then apart from that, we also wrote b dot star, which means we would like to take a look at the content for everything which is in the alias b, which is your second table, which is transaction underscore detail underscore right. So that's why you can see you have customer ID, transaction date, and amount. Now there are two more things I would like to quickly point out. One, in the first table, which is customer underscore detail underscore left, if you remember, and let me just quickly scroll up. If you remember, you had just two records. So you had information for customer ID 1 and customer ID 2. However, in the output, you can see that you have three records, but at the same time, you only have details for customer ID 1 and customer ID 2. The reason is because we're doing a left join. On the left hand side, we have this table and we're doing it based on the customer ID, and that's why you only have information for the customer IDs which is present in this table. So for this table, you had just two customer ID, which is customer ID 1 and 2, and those are the only details available as a part of the output. However, in the second table for customer ID 1, you had two records. If you remember, let's quickly go through that. So now over here, you can see that for customer ID 1, you had two records, and that's why the information for both of them is coming. And the right hand side, you have transaction date and transaction amount, which matches with the information that you have here. Now, thing to note here is that for customer ID 1, pretty much everything which is coming from the table 1 remains exactly the same. So the customer name, age, state, etc. remains exactly the same for first two records. Another thing to point out here is that even though second table, which is transaction details, right, had a third customer information as well, which is customer ID 3, you don't see that as a part of the output because you're doing a left join, and on the left hand side, you have the first table, which is this table. And over here, you don't have any information for third customer. So that's the reason why you don't see any customer ID 3 present as a part of the output. So hopefully this gave you a good idea about how to do a left join. But this is probably the simplest way of writing the left join. You can keep on adding additional stuff on top of the skeleton that you see on the screen. So like say for instance, over here, we have done an a dot star comma b dot star, which is we are selecting everything which is present in the first table and everything which is present in the two table. There is two problems with this approach. The first one is, what if this table had like 2000 variables and this table has like another 1000 variables? So as a part of the output, you'll probably be getting like 3000 different variables. You cannot comprehend anything intelligently which is coming from 3000 different variables all at the same time. So because of which, let's say that you want to select only few variables. Let's say you want to select like first 2 or 3 variables from first table and then first 2 and 3 variables from the second table. So you can go ahead and do that as well. So that's one thing that we can do, which we'll take a look at it right now. Another big problem that we see here is that if you see that you have customer ID and this is 1, 1 and 2, and then you have another customer ID, which is again 1, 1 and 2. Now there is no way for me to differentiate whether this customer ID pertains to the table which is on the left hand side or this customer ID pertains to the table which is on the left hand side. Now, of course, given the fact that we have done a dot star comma b dot star, then we can say that okay, maybe this particular variable pertains to the customer ID which is on the left hand side. However, if you will write more complicated queries, you have a lot more different iterations and nuances, then it will become very difficult for you to comprehend that which customer ID or which variable is coming from left table and right table if the variable name sort of remains exactly the same. So that's why we can add the alias names for these variables as well. So let's take a look at that. Here is another query where we are doing the exact same thing as we did last time, but we are only selecting few variables. So here it says select a dot customer ID. So we are taking customer ID from the first table, but we are giving it an alias name of customer ID left. And similarly, we are doing a b dot amount as, and then you are doing a alias name of amount underscore right. And then pretty much everything afterwards sort of remains exactly the same as we have seen earlier. So now if you trigger this query, you can see that you have customer ID left and you have amount right. So by giving an alias name like this or by giving a new names like this, it does not impact your base table. So if you do a select star from this particular table or this table, the original variable name does not get impacted at all by writing a query like this. However, whatever you will see on the screen, or if you're going to store this information in any new table, then the new variable name is going to be customer ID underscore left and amount underscore right. So this makes it easier for us to understand and comprehend the output if we are reviewing some of these information later on, because oftentimes your query will have multiple steps. So it's definitely important as a rule of thumb to write the variables which is easy to understand and remember. So that's all for the left join. Now let's take a look at the right join, which is very similar to what you have for left join. It's just that we are flipping the sign and we are saying that rather than doing a left join, we'll do the right join, which means that we will have content of everything which you have on the right hand side plus everything which is overlapping between left and the right table. So let's take a look at the query for the same. Now, this is a sample query for right join, but on top of a right join, I'm also selecting a only selected few variables from both the tables. So let's go through it one by one. So in the select statement, we are asking the system that get me two variables from first table, which is customer ID and customer name. And I would like to give an alias name for both of them. So you have customer ID left and customer name left. And apart from that, I'm also asking the system to get me three additional variables from the second table. So you have customer ID, transaction date, and amount. But on top of it, I'm giving an alias name for each one of these things, which is the variable name, and there is a suffix added, which is your underscore right. Now in the from section, it looks very similar to what we have seen for left join. So first of all, you will write the name of the first table, which is on the left hand side, A, which is your alias name for the first table. And then afterwards, you will simply write a right join. And then you will write the name of the second table and the alias name for the same. And then how are you doing the join, which is what is the common variable between these two tables, which is a.customer ID is equal to b.customer ID. So let's quickly trigger this code to see the output. Now this is very interesting. So let's quickly go through it carefully. So in our last query, we looked at the left join, and over there we had detail for only customer ID 1 and 2. And that's because the first table, which is on the left hand side table, had information for only two customers, which is customer ID 1 and 2. However, over here, we do see that we have a lot more information. So you have two more records. And that's because now we are doing a right join. So as a definition of the right join, first of all, you will get everything that you have as a part of the right table. On top of it, you will also have overlapping information. Let's start from the right hand side then. So as you can see that you have two different variables, which is coming from, as a matter of fact, you have three different variables, which is coming from the right table. So you have customer ID right, you have date right, and you have amount right. And all of these variables are populated. So you can see that you have 5 records, which is what you had in the input table. This is because we are doing a right join. But on the left hand table, we are only getting information for first 3 records. So we have customer ID 1 and 2 because that's the only information which is available in the first table. So we didn't have any customer ID 3. And that's why you see null. And I hope this is visible on the screen. That's why you see nulls here for all of these 4 places. So what we learn from this is that if you don't have information available, you will still have a placeholder as an output. Or if you're going to store this information, then even over there, you will have this information being stored as a null. That means that this information is not available in that table, but there's definitely going to be a placeholder. So this is a simple example of a right join. Now let's take a look at the inner join. Inner join is also very similar. I'm just going to go ahead and make a simple change. So rather than left join, right join, now you will go ahead and write inner join here. And then pretty much everything remains exactly the same. However, in the back end, the calculation will be different. So now let's trigger this query to see the output. Now you can see that you have information which is available for the customers, which is available in both the tables. So now you can see that those nulls are missing. Those nulls are gone. So now we have output for customer ID 1 and 2 because both customer ID 1 and 2 is available in the left table and on the right table. Now this might look very similar to what you have for the left join, but please don't get confused between a left join and inner join. They are two completely different things. Left join will have information which is available in the left table only. However, inner join will have information which is available in both the tables. So say for instance, in this case, let's say we didn't have any information for customer ID 1 in the right table. And if we do an inner join, then you wouldn't have seen any detail for customer ID 1 here. You would have seen only the detail for customer ID 2. So now that we have learned about left join, right join, and inner join, and we have seen that how easy it is to change the left join, right join, and inner join, let's take a look at the outer join as well, which is nothing but a combination of everything which is coming from the first table and everything which is coming from the second table as well. Unfortunately, if you were thinking, what if I just simply go ahead and change this right word or the inner word with the outer join keyword? That's not how it works in MySQL. That's the unfortunate part of it. So like say for instance, I have just copy pasted this code here and I simply replace these two keywords. So rather than calling it outer join, I'm writing things like full outer join, or even For that matter, if you write like simply outer join, then it's not going to work because outer join is not done like this in MySQL. However, there's a hacky way of doing an outer join in MySQL. So let's quickly take a look at that. In order to do that, first of all, I would like to take you through the Venn diagram that we discussed last time so that the concept is clear. So let's take a look at that. Now we discussed last time that this is how your outer join looks like. So you have two different tables. On the red, you have the left table, which is customer details. On the right, on the blue, you have the right table, which is your transaction details. So if we are doing a outer join, then that means that we would like to have details for both the tables, which is the one in the red and one in the blue, as a part of the output, which is your overlapping and non-overlapping section. Both of them should be present. Now, if certain variable is not present, like for instance, everything that you have for this table, you might not have all the variables present from the red section, then you're going to simply go ahead and put it as a null. So this is how your outer join looks like. Given the fact that we don't have any simple way of doing an outer join in MySQL, one alternate approach is that you will just go ahead and simply do a left join, and then you will go ahead and do the right join, and then you will simply union these two tables, which means you will go ahead and append these two tables. So let's take a look at the output to better understand what I'm talking about. First of all, in order to make sure that the query is not looking way too big, I have literally just stripped down everything which is not needed. So even over here, I have just like stick with like a dot star and b dot star, so you don't have to go through too many text on the screen at this point in time. So as you can see that this is the first piece of a code, which is nothing but a left join between two tables. So you have the first table, a left join, and second table. And then we are doing a union, which is nothing but simply appending these two tables. And then afterwards, we are simply doing a right join. So you are again just taking these two tables and you're doing a simple right join. So if you go ahead and simply run this query, then the output is going to look something like this. Now you can see that you have details which is coming from both the tables. So you have the table on the left hand side, which is customer ID, customer name, age, and state. You have all the details which is coming from this table is present. But there are a few customer IDs which is not present, and that's why you see nulls here. And again, on the right hand side, you have customer ID, transaction date, and amount. And pretty much all of these details which is present on the right hand side is also present. Now in this particular use case, you only had customer ID 3, which is present only in right table, and that's why you see nulls here as a part of the left table. However, if there was another customer ID, like say for instance, if you had customer ID 5, which was present only on the left table and it was not present on the right table, even that would have appeared here and you would have seen nulls, everything for on the right hand side. So hopefully this gives you a somewhat good idea about what is outer join and how to do it in MySQL. Now, as you can see, there is no direct way, but again, even this alternate approach sort of does the job. So that's all for today's video. If you do have any questions about these type of joins, which is left join, right join, inner join, or outer join, please do post it in the comment section. I'll make sure to kind of review these questions and give you the right answers. Thank you so much, and I wish you best of the luck.